Okay, Trial by Fire is a very popular film on Netflix at this time of this recording. And I have to admit, I was doing some research for it because I just assume that anything that's in the top 10 on Netflix is a newer film. In this case, this film came out in 2018. And here's how I usually do my 10-minute ramps. I usually watch something and I put it on a list here. Here's Trial by Fire. I actually wrote no after that because I thought about the film's not really new enough, but honestly, I want to talk about it anyway because this is a pretty interesting film and I heard nothing about it in 2018, and now I want to hear more about it because it is based on a true story about, and I'm going to get into some spoilers. If you've watched my 10-minute rants, you know that I get into some really heavy spoilers a little later on, but if you like the basic concept of this movie, you should watch it. So it starts out with this a house just completely going up in flames, and you see the father, come out of this house, and he's saying like, my babies are still inside, and he's trying to like do things like break open the window. Unfortunately, as soon as he does that, more flames come out, and I have no idea if that's scientifically accurate. I'm just going to assume it is. And so what happens is we see this from the neighbor's point of view, and then later on the cops show up and they arrest this guy. Now, why do they arrest this guy? Because they start to assume that he actually started the fire on purpose to burn his kids, and he has like a daughter and then two twins. And we see this guy go through trial, and he is found guilty of killing his kids. And during the trial, this guy he gets really mad. He does pretty much everything your lawyer tells you not to do when you're on the stand. But of course, he knows what's going to happen, that he's going to be found guilty here. And at the time, there's a lot of people around him that testify that, yes, this man is a very agitated person. And even his own wife, yeah, she's still in the picture, she's on the stand sort of kind of defending him, but she also gets super upset at the what is going on here. Now, did I mention that this place takes place in Texas? So not only is he found guilty, but he's given the death penalty. So this is where the film gets rather interesting. This guy has to do nothing but rot in jail, because if you know anything about how the death penalty system works, they send you to death row, and then you just essentially wait in prison until, I don't even know how this works, but essentially until someone just goes like, okay, yep, we can kill him now. I guess, I have no idea how this really works. So, what happens is he befriends this one prisoner who tells him like, why don't you start writing to a high-priced lawyer who might be willing to take your case pro bono? So this guy starts doing that, and the high-priced lawyer, who's played by Laura Dern, now I know her character actually has a name because these are real people, but I don't remember it, and unfortunately I don't remember the main character's name either. If you watch my 10-minute rants, usually I talk about them, I'd usually talk about the actor, because no one remembers names from films they watch. They just remember either the actor's name or unless it's an iconic name or an iconic character, you're not going to remember that. But hey, you should watch this film because it is based on a real case. And yeah, I think the things that it has to say are very important. So I'm sorry, I suddenly realized that there's a fallacy in my logic here. Sorry. Anyway, so what happens is this guy starts to talk to the lawyer, and the lawyer is starting to believe his story, that maybe he didn't do it. And she starts to do a little bit of research. Now, here's the thing about the main character's film. He is very agitated, and this film does not hold back of showing that he and his wife would argue to the point of where they would just yell at each other. And I'm certain this was a very toxic attitude or an atmosphere for the kids to be around. But he also claims that he loved his kids, and I actually believe that he kind of does. This film kind of really tries to paint this guy as a picture of someone who is trying to be a loving father, but maybe he just doesn't have either the mental capacity or the good character to be that. Like they actually show him like after he learned that his kids had died, he went to a bar and just started drinking and stuff like that. and which you probably shouldn't do, or at least that definitely sends a message that maybe you're happy that this happened. And I get it. I feel like, yeah, that you probably shouldn't do that, guy. But at the same time, I understand, like, hey, we all grieve in different ways, and this guy, I mean, could have done that. This film kind of does go out of its way, and I think this was actually on the poster that I saw from this film. But you actually see this guy see his daughter, his oldest daughter there, and he's sort of having conversations with her. It's weird that the film goes out of its way to do this, and I'm not sure where they would have got the information that this character would do this. And this could have been this could be one of those things that a filmmaker does just to show something, but it's not really happening in universe. And I know that, yeah, I mean, I'm sure that, yeah, this film really would have to make me swallow my suspension of disbelief if I really thought he was talking to the ghost of his daughter, who for some reason is still the same age. I've noticed, like, in Hollywood films, like, if a kid dies, like, in the afterlife, they're always that kid. I'm kind of going like, I don't know, they don't allow him to grow up over there? I don't know, that's another topic altogether. But, so essentially you're starting to see the softer side of this guy. And, unfortunately, fortunately, this lawyer actually finds evidence to show that the trial was done really poorly. For example, like, remember how I said this takes place at the beginning? They show from the neighbor's point of view. Well, they interviewed the neighbor afterwards, and whereas before the neighbor said, after this happened, that this guy really cared about his kids and he cried so hard about it. As soon as this neighbor got to the witness stand, they were saying, like, yeah, he was just a completely jerk of a man and stuff like that. And that goes for other particular cases where it's like, yeah, they interviewed, like, on the witness stand, they got his prison roommate, and the prison roommate said, like, oh yeah, he told me he did it. Yeah, he just told me he did it. And it's just ridiculous sort of things. And this is some lawyer that they get, for that lawyer, with the lawyer that's provided for you. And that lawyer isn't going to spend his time doing a lot of things. And I get the feeling like, yeah, it's one of those systems where it's like, yeah, it looks like he did it, so let's just try him and do that. So it's almost kind of a kangaroo court is really what's going on here. Needless to say, she finds a lot of evidence, and one of the strongest evidence she finds is from a scientist who talked about the burning of this house. Now, when the cops came in there, they just assumed, oh yeah, there's an accelerant here, and this is what happened, and so he must have poured gasoline all over the place, and then torched the place. And then the scientist guy who looks at all this stuff goes like, yeah, they had a space heater, and then that goes up, and then anything behind it goes up super fast. So that room was an inferno in a matter of seconds. And they find all this evidence, and then they can't find. They can't get the governor to read these reports here and suspend the execution. In fact, when they start finding all the evidence of this stuff, that's when they start going like, okay, time to be executed now, because I guess that's how that system works. I don't know. And I'm going to get into some heavy spoilers here because honestly, I really liked what this film had to say. This idea that essentially, yeah. Now, I don't believe that every case of this is like this, that there are people on death row that are absolutely innocent. And I don't want to spread that type of narrative. But I will believe of the small minority that are there, and yeah, it is. They seem to say that the Texas system of justice is essentially this assembly line of the death penalty. And it is shown in evidence during the credits when they actually show that the governor was talking about how much the death penalty works in Texas, and everybody in the audience of whatever political meeting this is are applauding so heavily, like they just love this system that is put in place. But it is designed to essentially weed out something that you are going to get certain innocents that are going to pay for its efficiency. And I like this film had the balls to say this, really. So, yeah, I am going to recommend this thing, and I'm going to actually, someone else recommended me a Netflix documentary called Long Shot, which also deals with a very similar case. So I'm not a big fan of true crime, but I actually really like this film, and I think you might like it too.